Hello children, let's discuss about the chapter number 2, Human Reproduction in grade 12. Humans are sexually reproducing and viviparous animals. The reproductive events in humans include gametogenesis, which is formation of gametes, that is, sperms in males and ovum in females. The second one is insemination, that means transfer of sperms into the female genital tract. The third one is the fertilization, that means the fusion of male and the female gametes, which leads to the formation of zygote. This is followed by the formation and development of blastocyst and its attachment to the uterine wall, which we call it as implantation. Later on, it's the embryonic development, what do we call it as gestation, and the delivery of the baby, we call it as parturition. There are remarkable differences between the reproductive events in the male and in the female. For example, sperm formation continues even in the old men, but formation of ovum ceases in women around the age of 50 years, which we call it as menopause. Today, let's discuss about the male reproductive system in humans. The male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region of a human body. It includes a pair of testes, along with accessory ducts, accessory glands, and the external genitalia. The testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch named scrotum. The scrotum helps in maintaining the lower temperature of the testes, that is around 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, lower than the normal internal body temperature, which is necessary for spermatogenesis. In adults, each testis is oval in shape with a length of around 4 to 5 centimeters and the width of around 2 to 3 centimeters. The testis is covered by a dense covering. Each testis has about 250 compartments called as testicular lobules. Each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules in which sperms are produced. Each seminiferous tubule is lined on its inside by two types of cells called as male germ cells, which we call it as spermatogonia and Sertoli cells. The male germ cells undergo meiotic divisions, finally leading to the sperm formation, while the Sertoli cells provide nutrition to the germ cells. The regions outside the seminiferous tubules, we call it as interstitial spaces, which contains blood vessels and interstitial cells, or we call it as Leydig cells. The Leydig cells synthesize and secrete testicular hormones called as androgens. Other immunologically competent cells are also present. The male sex accessory ducts include reticestis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. The seminiferous tubules of the testis open into the vasa efferentia through reticestis. The vasa efferentia leave the testis and open into epididymis located along the posterior surface of each testis. The epididymis leads to vas deferens that ascends to the abdomen and loops over the urinary bladder. It receives a duct from the seminal vesicle and then opens into urethra as an ejaculatory duct. These ducts store and transport the sperms from the testis to the outside through urethra. The urethra originates from the urinary bladder and extends through the penis to its external opening, what we call it as urethral meatus. The penis is the male external genitalia. It is made up of special tissue that helps in erection of the penis to facilitate insemination. The enlarged end of the penis, called as glans penis, is covered by a loose fold of skin called foreskin. The male accessory glands include a pair of seminal vesicles, a prostate gland, and a paired bulbourethral gland, which we also call as Cooper's gland. Secretions of these glands constitute the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. The secretions of the bulbourethral gland also helps in the lubrication of the penis. Now, let's discuss about the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries along with a pair of oviducts, which we call it as fallopian tube, uterus, cervix, vagina, and the external genitalia that is located in the pelvic region. These parts of the system, along with a pair of mammary glands, are integrated structurally and functionally to support the processes of ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, birth, and child care. Ovaries are the primary female sex organs that produce the female gamete, which we call it as ovum, and several steroid hormones, which is also called as ovarian hormones. The ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen. Each ovaries are about 2 to 4 centimeters in length and is connected to a pelvic wall and uterus by ligaments. Each ovary is covered by a thin epithelium which encloses the ovarian stroma. The stroma is divided into two zones. We call it as a peripheral cortex and an inner medulla. The fallopian tubes, uterus, and vagina constitute the female accessory ducts. Each fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeters long and extends from the periphery of each ovary to the uterus. The part closer to the ovary is the funnel-shaped infundibulum. The edge of the infundibulum possesses finger-like projections called as fimbriae, which helps in collection of the ovum after ovulation. The infundibulum leads to a wider part of the oviduct called as ampulla. The last part of the oviduct or the fallopian tube is the isthmus, that is narrow lumen, and it joins the uterus. The uterus is single and it is also called as womb. The shape of the uterus is like an inverted pear. It is supported by ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. The uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. The cavity of the cervix is called as cervical canal, which along with vagina forms the birth canal. The wall of the uterus has 3 layers of tissue. The external thin membranous perimetrium, the middle thick layer of smooth muscle, we call it as myometrium, and the inner glandular layer called as endometrium that lines the uterine cavity. The endometrium undergoes cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle, while the myometrium exhibits strong contraction during the delivery of the baby. The female external genitalia includes mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair. The labia majora are fleshy folds of tissue which extends down from the mons pubis and surround the vaginal opening. The labia minora are bare folds of tissues under the labia majora. The opening of the vagina is often covered partially by a membrane called as hymen. The clitoris is a tiny finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of the 2 labia minora above the urethral opening. The hymen often torn during the first coitus, which we call it as intercourse. However, it can also be broken by a sudden fall or a jolt, insertion of vaginal tampon, active participation in some sports like horseback riding, cycling, etc. In some women, the hymen persists even after coitus. In fact, the presence or the absence of hymen is not a reliable indicator of virginity or sexual experience. A functional mammary gland is characteristic of all female mammals. The mammary glands are paired structures that contain glandular tissue and variable amount of fat. The glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing clusters of cells called alveoli. The cells of alveoli secrete milk which is stored in the cavities of alveoli. The alveoli open into mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. Several mammary ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla, which is connected to lactiferous duct through which milk is sucked out.